I'm sure all of us in this room want to be successful. However, our definition of that is, of course, whether it be having a Wikipedia page, being remembered, making your parents proud, making a lot of money. There's a lot of things to be done, and there seems to be a certain way that's been set out and that's been told to us to do that. And it is, you work hard in high school, you go to a good college, you work hard in college, you get a good job, and you earn a bunch of money, you get promoted, whatever, you do some hobbies on the side maybe, then you get married, and then you die. Those two things aren't related. Anyways, and Gabe Newell was on top of that curve when he was in college. He was a Harvard student. Except Gabe wasn't at Harvard because Harvard was Harvard. Instead, the reason Gabe Newell was studying at Harvard was because he wanted to learn computer science and programming in the 80s. And that's a pretty good place to be if you would accept. Except he didn't feel like Harvard was enough for him, so he went out to work at a startup instead of finishing his Harvard degree. So he took a big risk, and it eventually paid off because that startup turned out to be Microsoft. So at that point, again, he's traditionally successful working at Microsoft as one of the almost founders, earning a bunch of money, of course, but then what Gabe wanted to do at the time was make video games, and that was his passion. So he goes out and starts Valve. And with Valve, what Gabe did is basically revolutionize PC gaming and just gaming and the online marketplace for life. And this is because it was his passion. And even now, even after almost 20 years, I think, of working hard and getting successful, he hasn't stopped working. He's not just sitting around as the boss of his successful company. Instead, what he's doing is helping develop VR. In fact, we have a VR stand out there. And, that's all because he started going out and chasing his passions over and over again. And this is J.K. Rowling. As you know, J.K. Rowling was a school teacher. And as a school teacher, sure, it's not exactly being a Harvard student level of promising, but at the same time, you get 3 months of money without work. I know that's not true, teachers. Okay, anyways, but then what she wanted to do instead was, write books. So she basically quits her job to write books, which ends up forming the Harry Potter series. And as we all know, the Harry Potter series was kind of successful, as an understatement. And at that point, again, like Gabe, she could have just stopped and done nothing, and even then she would be making millions. But she didn't. What she instead did is, she went out going after different projects, writing different books, most of them not even related to the Harry Potter series, because she didn't want to be the Harry Potter lady, she just wanted to be a quality author, and that's what she went out to do. And this man, Jeremy Clarkson, as you see, wasn't successful. Jeremy was a lower than average student that was living in Britain, but he had one passion that he chased after, and that was cars. He liked cars, so he started writing about them. He started, writing magazine articles, newspaper articles, and eventually that led him to the BBC. And at the BBC, he made this Top Gear program, which, if you have heard, was super successful for about 15 years. He became a celebrity, and then it ended in 2015. And at that point, you're rich, you like cars. What makes sense is you go out and drive your cars, go on vacations with your wife, whatever. Except what Jeremy decided to do was something different. He went to Amazon with his friends to basically host the same show again, because that's what he liked. And it's called The Grand Tour. I recommend you watch it. And, because this is his passion. He likes actually going on TV, or in this case, the internet, and talking about cars. That's what he likes to do. And this is me from last year. My parents, more like, wanted me to become everything at once. They wanted me to play sport, they wanted me to play a musical instrument, they wanted me to be smart, able to socially interact with people, that kind of stuff. All parents kind of want that. And in my primary school career, my mom basically forced me to do some basketball, and spoiler alert, look at me, it didn't work out. And I would accidentally drop balls so commonly that eventually I discovered if I dropped the ball while I was running, it would accidentally hit on my leg and roll away. And eventually I started purposefully kind of sneakily kicking the balls away because I didn't want to play basketball at all. And I was being forced to at the school like trainings. And I was clearly not doing good. Anyways, my coach eventually recognizes that I am not into this at all and basically tells my mom. And what my mom did was something great. She decided, you know what, this is not working. I don't know what he wants to do, but this is clearly not what he wants to do. So she let me free. And to be honest, that's a weird feeling to be left to do whatever you like at that young of an age. But I'm thankful for that now because here's what happened. I took an interest in video games, no surprise there, like any boy, and eventually that evolved into something bigger. I first of all learned everything about the little games I was doing and playing, like for example I've got a lot of trivia on World War II planes for no particular reason, and eventually those little bits of trivia led to me wanting to make my own games, and that led me to program. And you know, I was programming and stuff, doing nothing in particular. Then I got invited to basically start this robotics club at our school. And last year we managed to win a regional championship, which is quite a big deal. And I'm one of the few people in this room that can say I've driven a robot. And this is all because my mom let me chase my passions, and I'm really thankful for that still. And going through your passions, becoming successful at them, you know, trying hard is of course hard work. It's a lot of time being, you know, spent on it. Except it doesn't really feel like work if it's what you're passionate about. And it all starts off in one stage of 4. This is unconscious incompetence, as you can read. And this is where you don't realize you're kind of bad at it. You just started, you're doing fine, and you feel like, you know, you're a god for how new you are. Except you really aren't. And the second stage comes, and this doesn't apply to just passions, and the second stage is what separates passion from what you're doing just for the sake of doing it. Because at the conscious incompetence stage, unless if you're like really skilled and naturally talented, you don't skip this stage. This stage is where you realize a lot of people have put in a lot more hours, have a lot more experience with the thing you're doing than you do. And you do realize, well, I'm not a rock star actually, I'm quite bad. And through this stage you have to work really hard to get to the next one. And if you're not passionate about something, and if you're not being forced to do it, I guess, you don't go through the stage and you just leave it be. And that's a waste of money, that's a waste of your time and your potential. But if you're passionate about what you're doing, if you're doing something that you actually like, you get to have conscious competence where, you know, you're still working really hard, you've spent a lot of hours, and finally you're doing good. You're trying really hard, but you're doing good. And eventually the final stage comes of unconscious competence, where it's a skill, it's an instinct of yours, it's just what you do and what you are. And here's the thing, this isn't your entire life in like 4 steps, this is every single thing you learn in 4 steps, whether it be knitting or cooking food. And if you don't go through the stage effectively, you're effectively wasting your time and life, and the only way to, you know, really run through this stage, these stages faster and faster is to be passionate about what you're doing, actually like what you're doing. And really, this room is full of young people, and we're all full of hopes, dreams, choices, decisions to make, and sacrifices to consider. What needs to be done is to go out and see what you want to do, see what you can do, and then do it. Because no one wants to be average. No one wants to be another brick in the wall. No one wants to, you know, be replaceable and disposable. So don't trade this real of living for the safety of existence. Thank you.